Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this new Meet the Leader session. My name is Anne-Emmanuelle. I'm the director of the French-American Chamber of Commerce of San Francisco, and we are happy today to host this new session with Eugénie Rives, who will introduce herself in a minute. This event today is brought to you by our Women Leadership Committee, co-chaired by Isabelle Marcus and Catherine Lévy. And I will let Isabelle introduce our speaker of the day. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Anne-Emmanuelle. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are thrilled to welcome Eugénie Rives, our star. Eugénie is an incredible visionary tech leader with over 2 decades of experience at Google/Alphabet, including 9 years in France, 11 years in the US. She currently is the managing director at X, the famous Moonshot factory of Alphabet, and Eugénie will tell us more about it very soon. She has spent the last years exploring disruptive new ways to address global challenges using breakthrough technologies from clean energy, chip design to plant biology. She also led a robotics moonshot in logistics. And Eugénie is passionate about fostering diversity in the tech industry. She's a co-founder of Women X Group to improve women representation and support their success and opportunities at X. She also serves as a board member and advisor at several distinguished tech, science, and business organizations. The list is long, and we are eager to hear from you directly, Eugénie, how you are leading the charge in innovation and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. So thank you, Eugénie, for joining us today. And let's start with your career journey. What has shaped your career path and your personal development? You have the mic.
Thank you so much, Isabelle, and the team. It's very happy to see everyone and to be connected. And the French-American Chamber of Commerce for organizing, of course. I would love this as well to be very interactive, so I know we'll have time for questions at the end, but don't hesitate. The goal for today was really to talk about technology, Silicon Valley leadership, and X, and what I'm observing as well. I've been in technology since as long as I could remember, because my father actually used to work for Apple. So I had a Macintosh when I was 4. I was not doing much with it. I was putting Play-Doh in the floppy disk, but I was definitely surrounded by technology because he started to do many businesses. We had robots in our home. We had many things. He was talking about e-paper very early on. And so for me, technology was, something that was happening, and I didn't even question the path of things. But my main challenge was how this will impact society as a whole, and how to influence the path of technology to make sure it has a positive impact. So very early on, I was very intrigued by technology, but more at a system level, to understand its impact and the new usage that would be created from that. That's the interesting thing. It never felt like a job. So I always love using actually all my work experience as a way to learn, to explore, to work in different cultures, different countries. And always choose my path and my different career step along those lines. And so that's how I started. So very early on, and then I was following him in his journey as entrepreneur, because he was a great visionary but not a great operation person. So whenever he was starting company, I was taking care of the rest and helping him. So I was going to meetings with him when I was 13, pretending to be his assistant. So we were going to the main web agency in France actually to pitch some new concept, and I was there. So it was very insightful for me and very fun. I came actually to Silicon Valley very early when I was 15 to do an internship in a web agency. And then again, when I was 19, to work on a startup that were doing actually network consulting. I was not, I was 19. I was able to do not much. I was doing a lot of, admin stuff, programming, marketing, but very basic things. But I was was working along two founder and veteran from Silicon Valley. So I learned a lot from there. And within a year, we actually had, we started with 3 people and we ended up 300 people in a year. It was in 99 during the big internet bubble. And then I thought about going back to France to finish my studies. I was doing mathematics at Dauphine, and then do a business school in Lyon to be closer actually to businesses, because I'm a very impatient person. I can't work on one topic, and being a researcher or a teacher would have been I needed to be more on a multiple topic at a time. So the business school was better fit for me. And after that, I was attracted to work abroad and to learn. So I went to Mexico City for 2 years to work for Alcatel and to learn Spanish. That was the goal. And then I came back and I was already in my mind. I heard about Google because I had a roommate in Silicon Valley actually who told me already about 2 founders that were starting a company at Stanford. And he asked me to check it out to look at the job, but it was too early for me. But I did look at Google a few years after when I was in France, and that was the only company I wanted to join because it was at the time very startup-y, very ambitious in how to give access to information to everyone. And so I joined Google France, actually 19 years ago to run operation and strategy for the team, and since then done many different things along those lines. So I did, this. I will tell you more about the Google journey, but so I was working in a French, office with someone here, actually Mathilde, working with me. Thank you for joining. And then I did a really weird experience. I went to Singularity University, which is a university at NASA M Center, actually in Silicon Valley. We were doing an experiment, bringing 80 people from all around the world to learn about technology and really build businesses, startup, and NGO around that. So I stayed there it was only a few months, but it really opened my mind on the really deep tech side of things of Silicon Valley. We had founders in robotics, in nanotech coming to talk to us, and many people with very different experience. And it shaped me because it really brought me the ambition of Silicon Valley, the way people were telling stories, and we will talk more about that and how to really, sell an idea. So that was very, very intriguing. And then I came back to Google and I was working on leading the strategy for Google in Sub-Saharan Africa. So in Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, Senegal, wherever we had a presence. And after that, moved to Silicon Valley, and I learned about X. And X is, I will tell you more, is Alphabet Moonshot factory. So leading many new bets for Alphabet. And I was very obsessed by this team. For me, it was like a deep innovation, very different people, very ambitious goal. But I was not an engineer. So for them, they were only engineers at the beginning, and they were like, we don't really know what you could do for us. So I drew a job description for more like a strategy and ops person to help them actually launch Moonshot in the world. They were like, that's okay, but we're not ready. So, but they did reach out to me 3 years after, and so just a good lesson for me. Sometimes the good things take time, and you have to try very, very hard. And I joined X, and I had different role, but I was very lucky to work on very different Moonshot and very big project on, in robotics. I was running one of the Moonshot in robotics and logistics. We were doing a self-driving forklift for warehouse, and we're working on a very different one on another project called Makani, where we launched an energy kite. We were launching a kite in the sky to generate electricity, bring it back to the ground, to the tether, and many other things. So I think I work as well on another one where we were building a robotic pants. So you can put a trouser that would help you walk. And this is now a company, a spin-off called Skip, that is actually got momentum with Arc'teryx, the sport company. So a lot of different topics, but during all those time, it was very much about nurturing and scaling, deep tech and in very different topics.
Yeah, and advanced humanity.
Super cool and super impressive. Yeah. So you're especially well placed to talk about innovation, and that's where we'd like to ask you a few more questions. So if you could tell us a bit more about X, because I think it's intriguing for everybody, what you call exactly moonshots, how is it different from regular innovation? So yeah, that would be interesting for the group.
Thank you, Catherine. So X is X. We got our name a bit, took by Twitter recently, but it's still X. We started it. We are so Alphabet Moonshot Factory. So it's a few years ago, I think 15 years ago, the founder of Alphabet, Larry and Sergey, really anticipated, the next Google. So they were thinking, okay, Google is working well. We have all those products. This is great, but what comes next after that? And we need to build this lab that can very much ignite a new innovation for Alphabet, not necessarily aligned with our, our current plan, but very different in many different disciplines. And they started this lab, we are in Mountain View, so in California, very centralized because the culture is very strong and very different, to really tackle the biggest problem of the world. And we call our ambition moonshot, like the moonshot that Kennedy, when Kennedy asked his team to go to the moon. We are not planning to go again to the moon, but we try to have the spirit of impossible goal to achieve. And we call them moonshot, and the idea is to focus on three big circles. The first one is a problem that touch a million, if not billion, of people in any discipline. We don't work, the only thing we don't do is politics and drugs, but that's it. Otherwise, we look at any problem space, climate, chip design. I mean, you name it. We have many different topics, like technology that are very deep and often not. They don't, like, the technology barely exists right now, but we know that it's going to come to life in 5 to 10 years, and often it's a merge between different disciplines. And then a solution that looked like a science fiction. And so I will take the Waymo example. So Waymo is a self-driving car project that started at X, that is now in the street of San Francisco. And I really I know many of you already tried it, but it's very feel special and science fiction like. I mean, for a few minutes, and after people say like, that's normal, that's boring, which is actually a good sign, I guess. But we started just by the idea of what if you can just go from one point to another with just pushing a button, and that's it. You don't need to take care of the rest. And so Waymo is a set of LiDAR and very amazing perception software to really map the world around the car, and really react. And the car is kind of a robot to react to and be able to drive people around. We have actually a car in our building that was the first prototype of Waymo, and we don't even have steering wheels. We don't even have it's just 2 seats that with there's no driver, and people are just talking together and going somewhere. And that's a goal, and that's where we are going. So that's an example of a moonshot, but we as well graduated several moonshots since then. So Wing is a good example, is our drone delivery project. And another one is Intrinsic, which is a moonshot in industrial robotics. So how you can set up robots very quickly and very easily into warehouse and factories. So that's some example, but we always try to look at those three dimension when we assess and we look at moonshot.
Super cool. And I know you've been also in charge of managing all the early stage projects. And that leads me to another question. I mean, when it's early stage, by definition, you don't really know, whether this has any chance of success or not. So how do you prioritize? Because, okay, I understood it's only big problems, only emerging technologies, but still it's probably, a lot of projects.
Yeah, it's a good point, and we don't really have many processes at X. Like, people are very against processes, which could be a curse and a blessing. But the only processes we look at is the different phases and evolution of project. We have a team that is spending their time, and I think they have one of the best jobs in the world, to look at the problem that the world is facing and to find solution and build a prototype in our labs. to tackle them. And we have amazing labs at X. We're very lucky. We have, we call them a design kitchen. So it's a place where you have, many different machines, 3D printer, laser, you name it. We have a bio design kitchen to work on a, bio project. And the early stage teams spend their time really, start new project, new moonshot. Often they manage multiple moonshot. We do that so they don't get attached too much to one. And what we love is that people stop their own project. So we have a list of kill criteria for each project. And when they reach a kill criteria, when we feel we de-risk the project enough, and it's not going to work for many reasons that are technical, that are maybe it's not the risk and reward ratio is not interesting enough. So we look at many different things. We'd actually stop the project. But it's very hard, and we'll talk more about it. You need to develop a culture where people are at ease stopping their own project. So we have this phase, and we kill 90% of the project at this phase. So that's huge. Think about it. And then we move to another phase where we incubate and we nurture, and it looks like more a startup to really grow the team and validate our assumption with the market. So having partners, having more like feedback from the market to see where we are. And then the project leave X, and there is 3 paths. Either we spin it off, so it's become a startup outside with investment from Alphabet, or we become the project become another bet like Waymo, Wing, or it come back to Google as well. So that's another option. We had Google Brain, who came from X, was doing AI really early on, 10 years ago. We had Google Glass. That was actually kind of a failure at the time, way too early. But you saw, actually, I was looking at the news this morning that Meta released another glasses as well. So it was too early and not necessarily finished as a product, but very interesting as well that it went to Google as a B2B offering. So that's a kind of a process we are following. And we have stages where we of course meeting committee review to really assess project, but what we love the most is like when people stop their own project. And I remember last year I went on vacation for Christmas, during Christmas, and I came back and one of my team members actually killed one project by himself. Like I was like, I'm done with it, doesn't work, we should stop. And that's very important to us that everyone can stop, but that's very hard. And we actually celebrate those moments. So we have All-Ends where people go on stage and they share their learnings when they stop a project. They get actually big bonuses when you stop a project, because that's very important to cultivate that. And you don't want people to hold them having this sunk cost fallacy, where they're just thinking, oh, I've spent years of my life on that, I spent a lot of money, I'm going to keep doing it, I'm going to try again. I don't think that's very good for organization, healthy, and it's blocking you to actually innovate.
So actually everyone is able to balance, in fact, this moonshot thinking with the need for sometimes more practical and achievable goals, right? I mean, yeah. So this is not necessarily in contradiction, or sometimes it can be, right?
Yeah, that's a very very good point. And we already, like always, ask people to define audacious goals. So the goals that are almost impossible to achieve. We have audacious goal All-Ends where people are sharing their goals that look at you can see for Waymo it was how the car can drive autonomously without any human intervention for number of miles. For another actually project, which was Makani, we are doing this massive energy kite in the sky, and the goal was to crash the kite, to have the maximum learnings, which sounds completely counterintuitive.
Insane, right?
Insane, but it's actually how you learn the most. But then you're right, you have as well the day-to-day and how to make sure we can track progress, we can so it's almost feels sometimes we have two sets of goal. We have the very audacious goal and we are always like tend towards that, and then we have as well what people are achieving that's that's more a bit more realistic, but you need both, because one of our principles is to think actually 10x, not 10%. And so we always look at problem and solution in a 10x way, like we were starting with a blank page. because it's how you really innovate. You really forget about the current rules, the systems that are in place, the thing that has been done more by habit or by whatever reason that may not be the right reason at the end when you look at it. So, and when you think 10x, it's where your heart and mind are completely in awe, and you can create the best way. And that's what we observe. And as well, you need to catch up on reality, and especially like we were thinking with when we did our drone project, the regulation was not even there.
Right.
For Waymo, you have to think we didn't have any regulation at the time, so we were looking to test and pilot our cars in places where we could, of course, do it, but it was not, of course, on public road yet. So you always have to balance, but we try initially to remove all the constraints.
And yeah, no, that's super fascinating. I mean, indeed, you come in the morning and you're like, okay, what's going to be our next challenge today? And what is our next ambitious? And do you have specific tips you can share with us about how to innovate despite those contracts? And it's so ambitious. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so we try to, and that's what I love about X is the processes and the how we are building Moonshot. It's key because we want to innovate repeatedly. So we constantly need to build and create new things. So you need to have people that are on board with that, and it's very could be very hard because it's there's a lot of ambiguity. You have to constantly of course when you have audacious goals, it's scary at some you just like think you're never gonna reach those. And people who join X often are they're the top of everything they could do. They've done the best studies, the best, and we bring them here and we ask them to unlearn everything they know. Like the best artists that you can find, they learn to really understand the rules, how to do things, but then they innovate and they just create things from scratch. So we do this unlearning actually at X, and so they can really think outside of the box, and the rules and everything. But for that you need to work a lot personally, and so we do a lot of personal actually work with people. For them to bring their best work, and it could be a bit like Silicon Valley-ish, but I'll share it. For example, I ask my team when they do a business plan, so they have their OKR that are very business OKR, but they have as well their personal breakthrough OKR, so where they are going to say as leaders, this is what I'm going to work on this quarter. And I want everyone to know it because my team can actually, remind me about it. And it's a way as well for everyone to be very vulnerable. So one person in my team, for example, is working on his micromanagement skills. Like he's a micromanager. Like he's been too much in the detail, too much, and he knows about it. He knows it's not great for his team, and he's been actually very much openly saying that's the thing I'm going to work on. And then everyone in the team do the same, and then everyone is accountable on that. So that's very. I find it hard to start because people could be a bit shy about it. But then when you start and then you have amazing result in terms of building connection between people and being able to build the best moonshot. Because when you build, actually very deep tech product and deep tech work, you need to, you want people to be highly connected to what they are doing, the problems they are trying to solve. So to the world, to other people in their team. So you have the best team and to themselves. So that's one tip, is really to work on this personal aspect to innovate. The second tip, and it's something that a story that Astro, our CEO, is saying often, is if you have, think about, if you have to build, and bear with me on this metaphor, but if you have to build a monkey who recites Shakespeare on a pedestal, what would you do and where would you start? And it's true that many people will start with a pedestal because that's easy. You can build, you build some wall with build a square with some wood, and it's you can say as well to your next meeting with your manager, I'm halfway there. I built the pedestal, and we actually asking the team to do the opposite. We're asking them to build to focus on the monkey and teach him to recite Shakespeare. But you have to think of what's the hardest problem you're trying to solve, because that's going to help you de-risk faster and make the most progress. And now it's actually very funny during our a review with the project, people put a little monkey picture next to the hardest thing they're trying to solve, to remind ourselves that's definitely the thing we should be focused on.
Yeah, very interesting. Which guess.
Cool. Maybe I'll take the opportunity to ask a few questions from the audience through the chat. And by the way, you gave me a great segue to do that, because you talked about your team, and indeed the question we have are about your team. One question being, how do you manage diversity at Moonshot Factory in terms of gender, culture, age, or of expertise, and this is very linked to the other question, which is what are the profiles in your team? So what are the different backgrounds, and how do you manage the diversity and balance within these different profiles?
Yeah, so diversity is, I mean, it's the moonshot that I actually am working always on the side. That's the biggest thing I think that is needed in tech. We have been so as soon as I started at X, we started the Women of X group to encourage and like having more women, more and being able to attract more women, retain more women, and then we created more employee as well group related to any other diversity we may have a need. So we are focusing on that. We are not there yet, to be honest, but we are focusing on diversity. And that's something we are working when we interview people, where we look at the network of candidates, and then in terms of retention, of course, it's to make sure like people feel included, and we actually invest a lot in our leads and in everyone to retain diverse talent. We have people coming from everywhere, so you see my French accent, but there's many people from Europe, from everywhere in the world. Because we are tackling problems that are global, so it's not we shouldn't focus on Silicon Valley problems, which are very different from the rest of the world. Absolutely. And then a lot of expertise, like we have designer, we have philosopher, we have makers, artists that are very very embedded, and it's and we look as well at very diverse way of thinking. That's what matters as well. But from on the rest, like it's a constant work, constant reminder to really focus on that and to invest.
And would you say this is your leadership style, to encourage people to take risk, innovate, and based on their own skills? I mean, philosophers, artists, I mean, that sounds quite incredible.
I think, yeah. And just by, I notice as a woman leader, as you are, in charge as well, you are a model for others. Even if you're a good, bad leader, doesn't matter, but you show that it's possible. Mm-hmm. I realized that when I was, working in robotics, in a robotics world, you don't have many, CEO, GM that are women. And I know that just by being there, like many women were coming and attracted to join the team. So that was I saw that across the board, and that's why every time, and I'm just trying to as well, and it's almost by default to join whenever I'm doing my next role. I'm always thinking about that. What I'm doing, of course, it for the role, the mission, but as well to show that that could be possible and give as well a path, because I know representation is critical, and I've seen that for myself as well as I was looking at a next step. So yeah, that's definitely very very important. And as well, on the leadership side, so we are driving our meeting in a way to be extremely inclusive, and especially you have always introvert in the team, and making sure everyone is feel bringing value. And it's as well like whenever we are brainstorming, and I love this, it's like we are not saying yes, but you hear that people are saying yes, good idea, but it's not gonna work.
That could be French a bit.
Maybe. But we're thinking of a yes and to really open the conversation, and make sure that people can contribute, have more idea, and express themselves in the building the solution together.
And and being a woman in tech, I mean, do you consider it as a challenge, as an advantage for you, for other women, as you just mentioned as well?
It's been a challenge at first for sure when you're always only woman in the room. Like it's always you come with your own style. But I think I learned over the years to really just being myself. Whatever, like it doesn't I'm not too conform to the team I was joining or to the style and really really express myself the best way and show what I could do and be very explicit on what I couldn't do as well. Like I join very technical teams where I'm not I'm technical, but I'm not an engineer, and so always bringing talent around you that can help. But I think it's been definitely hard at the beginning to be the only woman, but then you learn to just be yourself, and it's just the way it is, and along the way and bring your own style and especially now I feel like there's so much diversity needs especially in this time of AI rising, and you need definitely technology to have the best impact and to be to bring everyone best talent on the table. And so I think it's even more a moment for diversity to be here.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, so thank you, Catherine.
Yes, switching gears a little bit. So we all know, at least in the Silicon Valley, that there has been some difficulties recently, and I'm not sure that innovation is anymore at the core of everything that it's been doing. There have been layoffs, etc. So what do you think? Do you think it's only a phase, or that innovation will come back and something super important, or that it never changed? What is your perspective on what's happening recently within tech?
We've seen a lot of changes. I don't think innovation is gone by any means. I think it's never been as high. And you see, actually, when I live in SF, and there is definitely a rebirth of the startup world, and especially with what's going on with LLM and AI, and so I fully disagree that innovation is slowing down. But there's definitely, I think, a change in the way the work is evolving as well, the nature of work. And of course, like sometime, and I think, Sundar was clear on Alphabet, but at some point Alphabet grew too much and we had people in role with not much to do either. So we had to really reorganize and so we could be more efficient as a company. So that's the thing I'm looking at, but we are definitely, hiring but it's just, I think the nature of work is changing, and it's changing for everyone. We talk a lot about the impact of AI in our work, but more than ever. And I think even for engineer, like we are looking at now you can use ML to code, and many people are doing that. But what it's interesting that engineer were creating the technology at heart as having having the impact on their own technology on their own work. So it's fascinating to see. I think as leader, it's going to be the same. We'll have nature of will change. The nature of work will change.
And with this innovation still going on very strongly, what emerging technologies, you were just starting to discuss one, do you see that will continue to drive, those Moonshot project and drive even more innovation, or the innovation of tomorrow?
Well, the most obvious one is large language model for sure, and we are seeing the impact across the board. So we are talking a lot about right now large language model for enterprise, for how to craft document, how to search document, whatever. Like it's a lot of things in terms of generating content. But what's been fascinating is to see the application in the other domains. So now you can use large language model to design chips. You can use large language model to actually, work on gene editing and design and for plant, or it's very crazy the type of application you have, and the fact that you can use it across the board. I think this has been definitely fascinating. So that's in terms of technology. In terms more solution. I'm very, very curious about synthetic biology. We're looking at, there's a lot of things in protein, for example, in the protein world, in, any biology, topic to understand better how human and the plants are working and evolving, and how to predict as well how things are gonna evolve. I think it's fascinating, and we just, barely scratch the surface, and as well to understand our own, our own nature. So I think that's a place where I see a lot of potential, and it's growing. It's growing slowly because it takes time to grow a plant, to grow cells, but it's definitely a big field that has a lot of potential.
Yeah, very exciting. Catherine, do you see?
Yes, so switching gears again. But thanks for all this insight. That's of course great to hear that innovation is far from dead. It has just changed a little bit, so that's cool. So yeah, we're trying to hear from you. What could be your advice from people that are maybe more, entering the industry now. So yeah, what advice can you say to younger women on tips, to nurture their career and land leadership roles as you were able to do?
And they encourage the ambition, right? Because in Eugenie, I think you used a lot the word ambition. So how do you encourage that?
So on the more I would say personal work, I've observed that really, it sounds very cheesy, but I'll say it anyway. Following your joy, really, making sure, even on the boring stuff, but making sure you can bring joy and make some anything lighter, more better. And it's when you feel joy in what you do, you can definitely create better. You can invent. And that's definitely something I observe even for myself when I was like, oh, I'm done with that, or it's, I need to change. But often it's just bringing this joy, and in every step of the way, I think has been very, very critical. Curiosity is key, and you see that with what's going on in AI right now. I think really trying tools constantly and testing things and imagining the next use cases. I'm talking to executive as well on that. You have many C-level who don't know what to do with AI, and the best thing is really to try for themselves and see what's and it's going to be very important, I think, to be very curious and learn very fast on those. And then I always laugh a bit about it, but being very ambitious come as well with just trying and being very ambitious for oneself on okay, let's try it and get some no's, and it's fine. But often I didn't get too many no's actually by just trying and being very bold and because it's you find that the hardest part in life, I find, is to know what to do, but the more you can listen to your intuition, follow it, and ask for help around you, I think people are always happy to help and say yes, give a try. And it's been for me of course, coming here when I was very young without speaking English, or going to make the same for Mexico to learn Spanish. Everything that I wanted to do, it was of course very hard, but it's the more you do it, less scary it gets over time, and being very just trying.
and do you think it's important to have a mentor? Did you have a mentor, for instance, when you arrived in Silicon Valley? I mean, did it come naturally?
No, well, I mean, mentors, it's interesting. It's always you don't really have formal. I mean, you can have formal mentor, but mostly it's asking people questions and having people being next to you along the way. I have many people in my, that I admire, and from my family, of course, and I'm always thinking of my mother, who already always told me do it, and she loved me to death, of course, but she never tried to keep me close, which helped me to actually try many different things, and I always, of course, come back to friends, but I think that's been very helpful. And then more on the professional world, I'm always following a friend of mine, Barbara Martin Coppola, who is a CEO of Decathlon, amazing woman that has been definitely following her guts and she's been leading a digital transformation for IKEA, and now she's CEO of Decathlon and doing an entire transformation of the company. But it's the same that I was telling you, seeing women that can do it as well, give you a lot of hope and aspiration. So
yeah, very interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. So we may maybe now move more to the questions of the audience, because I know that Eugenie, you're also keen to have this interaction for the attendance. So I see in the chat a question by Eloise. So maybe Eloise, you want to tell your question directly? Are you there or not there anymore? Not sure.
She is
Eloise.
there, but she might be shy.
You want me to read it? I can start and reading it. So, question from Eloise. So, you are moving and
The mic is not working. That's why.
Oh, that's why. Okay, so I'm reading it. So you are moving and innovating way faster than industry. So how is the collaboration with industry and external partners when you move on to the stage where you test your moonshot outside X? So do you have challenges at this stage, and how do you deal with this gap?
Yeah. I love this question. And so we try to be better at making contact with the real world faster. But there's definitely often a disconnect because, we don't have many, like million of users yet at the stage of X. It's like very early innovation. And I remember the time of Mineral. So Mineral was our computational agriculture project. So we were actually scanning field of strawberry to understand better how plants were growing with big robots that were, like just going through the field. And the first prototype actually we gave to one of our partners was 2 bikes that were taped together, and very simple, just prototype, very scrappy. But that was good enough for the learning to be able to be in the field and with a set of camera map the different plants. It was very weird, and we have a picture. I can't show it right now, but a picture of this, hacky prototype that we deliver that almost fell from the truck to our partner, and it was very embarrassing. But it was what was needed at the time. It was what was the minimal prototype you can do to get the learning you need. So we are working. Every project is working with key, industrial partner. We are working with EDF. I remember well, and we did a lot of. We work with many different partners and across the board to test what we do. But it's very what we try to be is very open on where we are, and that it's still very researchy, very startup-y. That we we work in a different way. Often iteration is very fast. That often our projects stop after a few months. So that it's very hard for us to have collaboration for 5 years and defining the milestone for 5 years. We don't really do that. So that's definitely be a challenge, but as long as we are very very open and both can learn from each other. So for sure, more traditional company can learn about our innovation principle, and we are very much learning from industrial partner for the state of the market and what we can bring and the user journey, for example. So that's a very good question, and we do it, but we needs to be done with a lot of collaboration and sharing very honestly where we are in our development.
It's collaborative processes, yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So there is, I think, another question by Stephanie.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Eugenie, thank you. Merci for the inspiring conversation. I have a question because I'm currently working with the founding team of a air mobility and aerospace technology company. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the space. I know that there's a lot of private capital going into it, like Andreessen Horowitz has their American Dynamism Fund, and more of large funds are setting up some private capital to go into aerospace and defense. But then there's a lot of government programs that are going into it. And so we are putting together a use case. Well, first of all, already there's a number of clients that this company has in the French market by a French entrepreneur, by the way, but now we're really launching and expanding into the US. So I would love to hear about your thoughts on, and this could be a follow-up as well, but on the industry as a whole, and especially the project we're working on is technology to help in the manufacturing, not only of traditional sort of Boeing and Airbus aircrafts, but the air mobility market, which includes, battery powered airplanes and aircrafts, as well as hydrogen powered aircrafts that are not launching yet. They're going to be online in a few years, right? But I would love to hear your general thoughts on that.
So yeah, we looked at it. The only thing we don't do is defense for sure. So it's more an alphabet, of course, alphabet policy, and it's very like we don't. But we are always looking at those fields, and I think one of the dream, and we haven't found a way, is to have of course personal transportation and having just a one seat, very small airplane you can move from one place to another, and that would be autonomous. So that's a dream. But I know, you've seen that Larry Page himself was doing a startup kitty walk on, but that stopped because I think it was again techno-economically a bit complicated. But I think looking at how to even manufacture airplane in a very systematic way. Hydrogen is a big big topic. We did have a moonshot in a hydrogen production, but not for airplane. It was more for manufacturing, I think, and for planes. But it's definitely like the new source of energy are key. And then you can think, of course, of self-flying, vehicle. And we haven't looked at it yet, but I remember one of my previous tech lead actually launched a company, Reliable Robotics, something like that, that is doing actually self-flying plane. He started with a Cessna, and now they are operating with I think many more traditional plane. And they got the regulation actually moving forward. So I don't have very specific insight on the market, but it's definitely a big field that needs to be looked at. But I think regulation is to evolve a lot on that. If you look at really modifying how airplanes are functioning. But definitely a big thing, and especially on the power side, I think there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Are there any other? So if you have questions, please, unmute or put something in the chat.
And I think we have some time left, maybe a bit.
Yeah, so I take the opportunity to ask another follow-up question then. So you talked and yes about the deep transformation induced by LLMs, large language models, and how it's so fast developing. I'd love to get your point of view of what will be in your mind the biggest applications, because we all know it's important in a way, and Gen AI is the thing. As you say, a lot of executives don't know exactly what to do from that or with that. So yeah, where do you see the growth exactly coming from? Because there are so many startups in the areas. What would you bet on?
Yeah. So I have a bias because we are working with X on Moonshot on LLM and legal, for example. So legal is actually one of the biggest vertical in terms of AI investment. I think it's the top one right now. And so I would look for LLM where you have a million, if not billion, of documents, where people are still looking at document manually and tagging things. When there's a lot of crafting involved, that's definitely a big field. So legal is one, finance is big as well, for customer support. I mean, there's so many now field. That's but I'm seeing I'm sure you've seen the rise of agents, but agents are coming from everywhere, and you have now HR agent, therapist agent, coach agent, and all the different I would say type of work could be as assist and powered by agent. What I'm very very fascinated is more how agent will communicate together. One field that we don't know yet how it's going to work, but there are definitely a lot of like a way where multi-agent will communicate together. And then on more the practical thing on business, I'm very fascinated on how we're going to monetize agent. And I feel, but that's my personal opinion, not Alphabet One, that we all going to be able to offer what our key skill as human, as agents. So let's say you are very great at negotiating, so you can have your own negotiating agents, and you can start to build agents according to what you do best, and monetize it. And so but I don't know yet, like you have ads platform now to monetize ads, but how do you monetize actually agent skills?
Yeah.
A very big I would start a business there if that would be my next business.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think
I love that.
there's lot of potential there, and as it's coming, it's definitely something that I see rising in the coming years.
Yeah, very exciting. Development to come. And finally, Eugénie, do you have time to cultivate some other passions, hobby, besides, all those exciting projects and AI agents?
So I care a lot about like just taking care of myself. So I do very basic weightlifting.
Wow.
It's boring, but it's good for my
And nobody can do it for you. This
exactly. That's
no
something I need to go and do it. It's boring, but it's very good. I feel very strong from that. I love yoga. I love testing anything. I mean, we have Silicon Valley, so we have a lot of retreat. So I love doing personal work. I'm working with a coach named Joe Hudson, and is doing many retreats. And my next one is in November, and it's around limited belief. So it's going to be very interesting. And then I'm very busy. I have 2 kids, and my partner has 3 kids. So we have 5 kids together, and it's definitely a joy to be able to spend time with the kids and do things with them and play with them. And it's always great as well. I mean, it's great to be as a family, but as well to be able to become a kids yourself with your kids. I don't know if you experience that. I'm already a kid at work, so how to be kids with my kids. So it's a great pleasure to be able to create with them and experience life with them.
Yeah, absolutely. We all relate.
So we have 2 persons with a question. So we have Sibyl who raised their hands, and then there is a question from Christophe in the chat. So maybe Sibyl.
Yes, thank you. So my name is Sibyl Baladi, and I am the founder of Balado. And Eugenie, I have 3 quick questions for you. The first question is, you mentioned that you were in a team with 3 people and you grew to 300 people. So the first question is, how did you keep the culture? My second question is, you said at some point you were the only female in a group of males. So why? And my third question is, you also said, yes, you said that at the beginning you started to adjust your leadership style, and then you decided to stay yourself. So did you have any challenges, or did you have there? Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so 3 questions. Can you repeat the first one? I remember that.
The first one is the culture. How do you keep the culture?
How do you keep a culture? Yeah. Culture is a very weird animal because it's evolved. It needs to be nurtured. I think it's so the story with being 300 people in 1 year. I was very it was very early in my career. I was not very in charge of the culture, so I can't talk too much about it. But and we were very fast. We had a lot of investment. We needed to go. It was very a crazy time. So I'm not sure what we did to keep the culture. I think it's you always focus on the what and how. So the what are you trying to deliver, the goals. So that needs to be very clear as a vision. But then the how needs to be very clear as well as what type of value you want to fight for. What makes yourself you as a company. It's the best way to rely people and make sure that you can make decisions faster as well according to what your values are. So I think we were very strong there, very strong value and very strong as well clarity on objective and goals. But it's definitely evolving, and especially now I see it at X with like culture evolve all the time, of course, because the environment evolves, everything evolves. But keeping a pulse on it constantly and seeing it as a, you know, like almost a diamond to protect, it's, I think, very key. And you do that as well by involving everyone. Everyone is part of the culture. Everyone needs to feel like they're part of their own company, startup, and that's. It was very weird at Google, I will tell you, but even Google was like thousands of people, and it's now 150. I don't know how many we are. I always felt I was, it was my company. It's stupid because it's not my company. There's many, we've been very many Googlers over time, but I think it's very strong to that they've been like the Google has been able to for people to feel that their company, despite the size and the scale of things. And I think that's culture where you feel you can change things, you can jump in, you can do, even if it's not your precise role, you can still start new things and do things that you feel are valuable for the whole company. So this like just concept of empowerment of people, and that they can really feel like they can change things and have autonomy, legacy, and they can really contribute. I think that's been very critical. Your second question on why being the only woman in the room. I mean, in very technical team, it's unfortunately what happened. There's still it's still majority of men in the team. I don't have the data on how many women engineer graduate versus men, and then how many But over time, we saw that women leave the workplace when it's come to engineer role, and I don't have the answer for that, but when you work on very deep tech, there's still a majority of men, and that's what happened in my career. However, it's changing, and I think it's changing as well because we are more aware that women has been often not in those roles, and it's very important that we have every diverse member of the team in decision making seats. So that's changing definitely, and but it's something, again, it's something to be very careful about and very mindful about over time. And you'll see it as well in AI. I was reflecting on it with the CTO of OpenAI that just announced today that she was leaving. I was like, damn it, it's another woman technical who is leaving, and hopefully she will do another leadership role. But it's just it's very important to be mindful and to keep investing in diversity. And you had a third question. Can you tell me?
Maybe
at the beginning you adjusted your style, but then you decided to stay.
Yes.
Any challenges there?
I think I was shy, and I think I was, I was shy to be myself, and shy to speak up. Shy. I mean, it's just it takes time as well. I did a lot of personal development work. I think I did, a lot of workshop around setting boundaries, speaking up, defining what was important for me. But it was definitely not, something that I was doing when I was in my 20s. So it's needed a lot of work, attention, and as well people around you that are supportive. I think I was very lucky at X with the CEO of X, who constantly gave me new challenge, gave me some opportunity. But you need to be in an environment as well that value diverse perspective, female leadership. So if you constantly are trying to prove yourself and feel like you can't make it happen in a setting, but it's important to as well at some point say, okay, I'm going to change the setting and make your life a bit easier instead of constantly have to go against the current. So I was very lucky at X for this reason.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we are at time. Many people had to leave. There was just one last question from Christophe, maybe, and then we can close. Christophe, are you still here?
Yes, I think I see Christophe. Yeah.
Yeah, so the question is quite simple. I'm just curious to understand, how do you manage and balance innovation and technology versus sustainability and their impact, such as AI? I know AI now is killing the sustainable goal of Alphabet. So I'm just curious to understand, how do you manage that?
yeah, and I have my own perspective, but I don't think we, tech will solve it all for climate. I think it's a combination, and we have technical solutions that could contribute positively to that. I mean, we are working. If you have a chance to look at 280 Earth, it's one of a spin-off doing carbon capture from the air. So we do have many climate tech moonshots. For sure, in the AI field, we are as well thinking about it on not. I can't talk on behalf of Alphabet, but talking about X, we are looking at moonshots in this, how we can reduce the impact of data center, how we can have AI that is more sustainability developed. So there's a lot of things on that, and that's definitely. I'm a big proponent as well of, I'm looking always on a solution for fusion energy, how we can have, fusion energy that is clean and abundant. It's been a big goal for like many people, but so looking at energy, looking at as well, how we can reduce in impact of resource usage, with LLM. We haven't found a solution yet, but that's definitely something we are looking at. Yeah, definitely something that needs to be solved. Thank you.
All right. I think Catherine, Eugénie, I think Anne-Emmanuel, I think we can conclude, right? So thank you, Eugénie. I mean, you are truly a role model. I mean, very inspiring for leaders at large and women leaders in particular. So thank you. I mean, that was really a fascinating conversation. And thank you all for joining. Merci, Catherine. I think we had some
organizing as
pleasure.
well.
Thank you
together.
Thank you for organizing. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Yeah.
Nice.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Eugenie. This was great. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.